In the last lecture, we were able to achieve the second objective of our algorithm. That is, create a functionality that will scan the network and get all the hosts that are connected to the network, and did that map to the second item in our program plan. That is a function to scan the network. Now, in this lecture, we are going to try to achieve the last step in our algorithm, that is, create a functionality that will print out the host with their IP and MAC address, and that map to the a function to print out the result according to our program plan. Right, so let's proceed. So now we are going to create a function that will now print out all the hosts and the MAC with their respective IP addresses and MAC addresses. All right, so I'm going to come over here and create a function, and I'll call it use the keyword def, which is a keyword for creating a function, and then I'm going to name this function print host. Print host, and I can come over here and add a comment that a function to print out the host, to print out the host. All right, so come here and I can start coding the function. All right, so now we can print out a header, just a string, a header that will show the column for the IP address and MAC address. So I just come here, print. I'll write IP address. Now after this, I can put a tab, put 3 tabs. All right, so I don't have backspace. I can make use of my on-screen keyboard. Okay, so backward slash escape sequence. So we have this tab, put 3 tabs, and then I will have the MAC address. So copy this. All right, then I can put MAC address. MAC address. Okay, so basically this will just print out a header, IP address, and MAC address. So before we go for that, I'm going to print it out and see how it's going to look exactly. So I'm going to invoke this function, function print host. So I'll just write the name of the function, print host. Print host. It doesn't require any argument at this moment, and then I will run the program and see how that particular function will behave. So I'll just come over here. All right, so let me go to let me see, scan function is not doing anything. All right, so let's go ahead and run it and see how it's going to look like. So clear cd, let me navigate to the directory where this host is contained, my desktop directory, under my desktop directory lectures, and then all right, I think it's under lectures. So clear ls. All right, so we have host scanner.py. That is where the file is. So I can run sudo python 3 host scanner.py, and then I can specify the target network 10.0.2 10.0.2.1 /24, and now just hit enter. All right, let me specify my password, and then let's see what we are going to have as output result. All right, so exactly the function is behaving as we expected. It has printed an IP address and MAC address. So now let's implement so that we can have the IP address under the IP address column and the MAC address under the MAC address column. So let's go back to the code and see how we can achieve that. So remember that function scan target return a list of dictionaries, where a list host element are dictionaries. whose element are dictionaries, where the dictionary contains element IP and the IP address and the MAC address, as we have seen it in line 35. So we are going to reference the IP address and the MAC address, and then remember that scan function, scan target, to return host a list, as I have said earlier, whose element are dictionaries. So we can pass that to function print host, and then we can print out the IP address and the MAC address of the respective host. So I'm going to write this host. So now I've defined a parameter that this function print host is going to require I have defined it with a parameter host. That means whenever we invoke it, we are going to pass host as argument. So we are going to pass something to it as argument. So here, when I invoke it, I'm going to pass host that we line number 47. We invoke function scan target, and it's going to return to us a list of a list whose element is dictionaries. Whose element is dictionaries. That is where we have the IP address and the MAC address, and then we assign it to variable host. Now I'm going to pass that host as my argument to function print host, and then now I can conveniently reference the IP address and the MAC address and then print them out. So, and to achieve that, we are going to iterate through the element of the list, and then each time we print them out to the screen. So to do that, I'm going to make use of the for loop for a host in host, and we know that host is a list. Is a list whose element is dictionaries. So we are going to print out the element of the list. So the first thing we are going to print out the IP address. I'm going to reference it using the key. Remember that a dictionary contains a key and a value each key with its value. So to reference any element, I'm going to make use of the key to reference the element. So to reference IP address, I'm going to make use of the key. So host, print host IP, and then after printing it out, concatenate it with a tab. So I'm going to make use of tab, these 3 tabs. I'll just copy it here so that the MAC address will be printed under the MAC address column. So concatenate it with this. I need to put a open and closing quotation, and then concatenate it with the MAC address. So we have host, and then we have MAC. Okay, so this host MAC, this host IP will be replaced by the actual value of the IP. This is a key referring to the value of the IP address. So it's going to be eventually replaced by the value of the IP address. Also, the MAC address here, the key will be replaced by the actual value of the MAC address. Okay, so save it. Let's go back and run it and see whether we're able to achieve our objective. So let me clear the screen and then run this program again and see what I'm going to get as output. All right, perfect. So we can see that our program has our function has worked perfectly. Likewise, the whole of the program has worked. We were able to achieve our objective, that is create a program that will scan the network and get us all the hosts that are connected to the network, and then print out their IP address and their respective MAC address.